In my last video, I was explaining my frustration of having a cabin right on the waterfront. However,
I've never actually had a path to get to it. It's always been bushwhacking. There was never any kind of path or trail or anything that gets me down to the water. And that's why I could never bring the kayak. It's getting through that jungle up there and that last bank. I think I'd have to make like a set of stairs.
So I then proceeded to hack through that jungle to make a narrow pathway for kayaking.
I've got a plan. It's getting there. I've got all these trees that fell down almost a year ago, and I think I can still salvage that wood. I really don't know if I'm going to get it done this season, but I'm still going to try. Well, I wish there was an easier way to get these to the waterfront, but I can't think of one. Before I put any kind of foundation, I got to see how much I got to play with. Oop. I'm smashing a little tree. Sorry about that. The longer this is, the more gradual the slope, which is good. I think that should actually work there. I think something like that should do it. But I gotta work on the foundation, of course.
Building up stones to the base would help, however I needed one more thing to keep it secure. I used 5/8 inch rebar to pin the side into the soil.
Well, I've now got one side of the staircase pinned in place with rebar, so that's pretty secure. It's not going to slide into the water, at least. And in the background here are all my steps, and a lot of these are just smaller logs that I chainsawed in half. Now, got to put them in place, and this one isn't going to move. It's pretty well where it's going to stay. This one can. But I got to find out what's level both ways, something like that. And then I've got to strap it all in place.
While working at the shore, I noticed something moving in the distance. It was Prudence and Eloise with their fawns, perhaps looking for a seaweed salad.
Well, this is amazing. End of November and it's t-shirt weather. I gotta take it when I can because I know the temperature is gonna drop within a few days. But anyway, I've got this strapped together on the top and the bottom, and I've got one step on the top just to keep it all even, and I've got two on the bottom here. Now they're not perfectly level, and the reason being is this side's a little high. I've got to actually dig it in and just put it down a little. This one's already staked in place, so it's not going anywhere. But as far as where to put the steps, what I'm trying to do is position them so they're, well, I'll just get my tape measure here. Should have had it at the beginning. I want them to rise about 7 inches, and it's bang on 7 inches right there. And in between steps is about 11 inches, and that should give me 10 steps to go to the top. Now, I do have to start nailing these in place, so this way at least has to be level. I don't want to slide down because there's too much of a slope, or the opposite way. This one is pretty good. I think I can nail this side. I just can't nail the other side until I get that a little lower. And I'm using 7-inch nails. I'd like to use 9-inch nails because I like the band, but I could only find 7.
Although it took over 5 hours to install those steps, I've speeded this up to around 40 seconds. And by the way, I never noticed the fire in the background until I replayed the video. Seems like a neighbor needed to burn some brush.
Well, it took a little bit of effort, but I now have stairs from my path at the top down to the shoreline. And I also have a couple of cement pads here. These are actually on the shoreline before, just over here, and I just moved them over. And a few rocks just to keep everything from sliding down. Now, one question I have, is this a ladder or is it a stairwell? And I'm not sure yet. The reason I think it may be a ladder is because it's not permanent. It's not, it's not cemented or bolted anywhere down below or top. It's actually free floating. The only thing that is anchored is this one piece of rebar right there. Now, that's actually, to me at least, the same as a ladder, because my ladder has spikes on it at the bottom so that, for security purposes. So I'm thinking it's a ladder, but I guess New Brunswick permit people are going to tell me which it is. That might be another issue. Anyway, that's as far as I'm going to get right now. Let's check it out. It works.
The next morning, there was a bit of a surprise. Even Prudence had to come over to investigate.
Well, unfortunately, I've had a minor setback because it snowed last night. And I'm not even going to try to go down there. It's too slippery and muddy. I don't think this means the end of the build, because I don't think the ground is actually frozen, and the snow actually might insulate it a little bit. So what I realize I can't do is start from the bottom when it's like this. It's just too dangerous. I think I have to start the steps at the top. But let's give this a few days, see if the snow melts away, and I can continue.
I had been collecting culled lumber from the local lumber yard, plus some salvage. This really kept the cost down. My design was simple. 3 sections of 4x4 posts nailed together to form a U. A 4th piece is placed upon the top and back of the U and is nailed in place. When combined with another step, it gives a 7-inch rise, which is perfect for climbing stairs. The first step of the first step is just to lay it down with the top piece facing up the slope. I try to level it as best I can. Next, a second step is forced under the first. I angle these slightly when the path curves and make them longer or shorter depending on the grade. When aligned, I drill a hole on each side where the steps overlap.
There we go. Okay, before that moves, get her in.
Then I pound a 2-foot piece of rebar into the soil to secure them.
Oh, it's moving. Oh. It's harder than it looks.
On my third step, I realized I didn't have to nail the back cross piece, as the rebar holds it in place. That saved a few nails. I just have to make sure all is aligned.
This is by far the most unpleasant project I've ever done. You know, I'm basically just mudslinging. It's just so gross.
The first one to try my step was this little guy. I was not expecting to see a woolly bear caterpillar crawl out from under the snow, but apparently they can survive winter well and even can be frozen. Now, according to folklore, the width and location of its orange band is supposed to predict how rough the winter will be. This one seems to say it's going to be a harsh beginning, but a mild ending.
Finally. Oh, it's a big one. End of another day. It's as far as I'm gonna get. Oh, I definitely need a shower.
The next morning, the sun looked deceivingly warm, but the mist over the water told a different story.
Whew. It's a little cold this morning, minus 12 Celsius, which means the ground is frozen, and it's going to continue to get even colder. However, I think, it's going to be hard, but yeah, I can still break through the crust. Nothing. Well, it's now afternoon and progress is really slow. I have made a plan. Here, let me show you my plan. There's my plan. That's hopefully that focused. It's on a thing called paper. I used old technology, pencil, paper. Remember that? I don't use computers for this. And computers wouldn't have solved the problems I've had anyway, because I wanted to have two posts right here and here, but I can't. So I've had to change the plan, and the reason being is right here is a root, a big massive root from that beautiful gorgeous white pine that's right beside here, and I don't want to mess with that pine. I want it to be healthy and live 100, 200 years more. So I've got to work around these roots. And that means I cannot put a post here. I've got to put one over here. And I can't put one over where I want it here because there's another root. So I've had to move things around. Now I did buy an auger. Oops, there we go. A pole auger. And it's not the best. It's about $100, I think, is what I paid for this. And I've been trying to dig this hole right here. It's not going well. Roots and rocks.
Now here's someone that's really good at digging holes. But I have a question for you bird watchers out there. Is this a downy woodpecker or a hairy woodpecker? With a slightly longer beak, my bet he's the hairy guy.
Well, after a lot of playing around, and it wasn't the fun kind of playing, I think I've got 4 posts. 3 of them are dug holes, and one's on a deck anchor because I just can't get around the roots. They're not exactly, equally spaced apart. They're just where I could dig, but I think it's going to have to do for now. They're not cut off. Once I get the platform in and everything is level, I'll cut them off then. But now, I guess I need a platform.
My platform was made from 2x6s, again cast-offs from the lumberyard. I more or less followed the same design as the deck I was building it on. Nailing joists between the edge and rim boards. No need to double up, as I only needed to hold one person in their kayak. It was about 30 inches wide by 66 inches long, with one extended piece to fasten it to the last step.
hope it's going to fit. Well, this is as far as I'm going to get today. The sun's just dipping below the horizon. But the platform's in place. And if it looks a little odd, I mean, if you compare it to the stairs, something's a little off. Believe me, it's the stairs, as the platform is perfectly level. And unfortunately, the stairs are a little wobbly, but they're also frozen in place now, so I'll fix that in the spring. But gotta call it a day. Days are short in the winter, so I don't get a lot done. Hopefully tomorrow I can put in the rest of the stairs. Well, I was hoping to finish this off this morning. However, things have changed. First of all, the good news is it's actually going to warm up. It's going to be about 13 degrees Celsius today, which is in the 50s Fahrenheit, which is wonderful. It means the ground is going to thaw again. But the bad news is the weather is changing drastically. There's something called a weather bomb coming to New Brunswick. And if you're not familiar with it, look at my videos from a year ago when 2 devastating storms came through and wiped out a lot of my trees. I'm not going to be out here building. I'm going to be inside, taking shelter and crossing my fingers. But for now, I've got to clear out my tools. And I also got to bring in my camera.
With a storm approaching, 2 questions come to mind. Will this be another nasty one with power outages, blocked roads, fallen trees, or something even worse? And will the cleanup be the end of my kayak path progress until next spring? So please check back for the finale and see if the kayak actually reaches water this year.